Yeah, but so again, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You know, yeah, I reached out to you a couple weeks ago actually, just because I saw, some of your TikToks, some of your Instagram videos and stuff, and I thought you had a great story that would honestly inspire a lot of people, and I kind of just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. So, I mean, for the people who don't know who you are, just maybe a couple minute, 2 minute, origin story of who you are and how you got to, where you are now.
Absolutely. All right. My name is Kellen Matthews. I'm an ultra running athlete out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I kind of got into running like just recently over the pandemic. I've always been an athlete. In high school, I was a wrestler, played baseball, continued on to play college baseball at a JUCO school. In my experience through that, I picked up an addiction, like a prescription painkiller addiction, and
Mm.
that ended my like baseball career. Obviously, I started to like dabble in drugs in high school, and by 14, I had like a legit like opiate addiction. Like I was like worrying about where my next fix was going to come from.
Wow.
So that kind of just followed me through life until I was like 24, 25. Like I was just really struggling, couldn't find my way. And fortunately, something kind of just like hit me one day. And I was down to like put my nose to the grindstone and put the work in. And one of the things that helped me a bunch was fitness. So when I first got started, got out of treatment and stuff, like I set a goal for myself to just like run a mile every day. And like a mile turned into 2 miles, turned into 3 miles, and then it kind of turned into me like having a healthier lifestyle. I used to smoke cigarettes. Like that was obviously a big change that I made. My diet, like growing up in upstate New York and kind of like a rural area, like diet wasn't a big thing. Like I really didn't know that like people drank water and like ate fruit and like good foods. Like I literally grew up on like Mountain Dew and like SpaghettiOs. So
Yeah.
yeah, with the running and the fitness stuff, kind of came like a healthier lifestyle, and obviously I started to kind of hang out with some people that were involved in fitness and stuff like that. I went through like the bodybuilding phase and the CrossFit, and then once the gym shut down in 2020, uh, my outlet kind of turned to running, and
Hmm.
I quickly progressed from just maybe doing like a long 10-mile run on the weekends to pushing distances
Yeah.
until I got to where I'm at now, where I'm getting ready to race 50-mile ultra marathon next weekend, June 4th.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah,
It's wild how, the progression of thinking that a 10-mile run is long and then going to straight into like a 50 mile, you said, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's just insane to me to hear that. It's wild. So like what was like the I guess the turning point for you in terms of or what made you kind of use fitness as like an outlet to, get better or to,
I mean, it
improve
was
yourself?
it was kind of just like a natural thing. Like I had kind of been obviously introduced to the gym and fitness in high school, so I had like a small taste of what it could do
Hmm.
for you. Unfortunately, I just wasn't in the like mental space, and I didn't have the mental capacity to like hold on to that at the time. So I knew that there was some benefits to going to the gym, and I found that once I added that to my routine and I made that like a thing. Like every day, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna
Yeah.
run my mile and I'm gonna go to the gym. And I noticed that like my life was changing like right in front of my eyes. Like I was starting to build confidence because like, I was putting on muscle. And I was like starting to look the part, feel the part, and everything was just kind of, molding together.
And so how were the first few, I guess, months, maybe year in terms of the consistency aspect of it? Like what were what did you find it difficult to stay consistent? Did you have like certain things that you did to help you stay consistent? Or was it a pure like willpower, I'm gonna do this type thing?
So like a lot like so I'm sure I have this in common with just like a lot of athletes and then also a lot of addicts. Like I just have that like addictive personality. So like when I find something
Mm.
that I like I really like it and I go at it with
Yeah.
everything I have. So like the consistency part wasn't too hard for me because it was like a substitution. Like I had one thing taken away from me and I just like really leaned into the gym. And it was to the point where like I wasn't taking any rest days. Like I had to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like I got to go to the gym
Yeah.
because that was like my outlet.
Yeah.
That's where I went to like express myself and like if I was feeling anxious or, depressed or whatever, like I was going to hit the gym, do some push-ups and like it was a guarantee that I was going to feel better after that.
Interesting. That's no, it's a great outlet to have, and I think a lot of people, find that once they start going hard in the gym, or relative to where your starting point is, I think that it's a good mental release. It just provides what in whatever way, your body needs to release that energy, needs to release whatever, um, is held up inside, and I think that you know a lot of people find that. Uh, the gym to be that escape. Especially nowadays, I noticed that like the fitness movement of people, guys going to the gym, even like girls as well. Um, and I think more and more people are slowly realizing that it is kind of like an outlet to kind of
Absolutely.
release, because everybody has their own, their own problems, their own situations they deal with, and I think that, you know, it's a healthier outlet than other things
Oh,
people have done in the past and whatnot. But yeah, no, that's great, and I think that um, you know, in terms of like, did you have a plan when you went through it, or did you just kind of say, gonna do this, and when you got to the gym, it was kind of, you know,
well, so
see what?
while I was in treatment, I put on like a little bit of weight. Like obviously, like I went from
Okay,
being like pretty sick to like
yeah,
I was able to eat again and like yeah, I was putting on a little extra weight. So that was like my main focus at first was like kind of shedding the extra weight I had because I was like uncomfortable being like a little chubby or what I thought was chubby.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like early on, like I had like a big transition. I went from like kind of having a little bit of a gut. I share about this on my social media a lot. I had a little bit of a gut, like the man boobies going on, and that was like a big push for me. I was like, dude, I gotta shed this because I was uncomfortable.
yeah,
Um, so that's where I caught fire and started to push. And then once I started to see the results and seeing that I was
yeah,
leaning out and feeling good, I started to like I said, I started to change eating habits. Like I went from smoking a pack of cigarettes a day to like completely kicking that habit. And
yeah.
yeah,
That's great. Yeah, and so do you think that um, seeing the progress obviously makes you kind of want more as well?
absolutely,
Correct? Like, is
absolutely.
that kind of what
The pro-
kept you going?
Exactly. Once you start to see like that little bit of change, like that gives you the more ambition to get there another day and another day. And you want just like a little bit more, a little bit more, and a little bit more. And I even noticed that that kind of turned into like a little bit of a problem at one point because it was like, when is enough enough? Like I
Hmm.
was like
Yeah,
dabbling with different diets and trying to figure out like my way of like a healthy way of eating, like drinking water. Like I've gone through like, going so hard at the gym. I'm also a carpenter by trade. So like I'm training for these things and I'm training the way that I am. And then I have to go work 8, 10, 12 hours, at a
yeah,
doing physical labor. So like,
yeah,
then you need caffeine, you get to drinking a lot of caffeine, that kind of
yeah,
stuff. It's like, you can have a healthy lifestyle, but there's also other unhealthy things that can, you know, come from
yeah,
that. So like, it's just been a journey, man. Like I've just been, experimenting, just trying to find like the healthiest way mentally and physically to just like, be the best version of myself that I could be.
yeah, 100%. And I think that like it can become almost, it can take over your life in terms of finding the right diet, this and that. And but I think it's important as well to test as much as possible without kind of holding on to the expectation of something changing your life, in terms of diet or whatnot. And so you said you changed your diet a lot, and did you notice a bigger difference in terms of your mental physical performance when you changed your diet or when you started exercising a lot? Which one do you think made a bigger difference, or were they both kind of?
I mean, I would say on for my mental health, like the physical side of it, like going to the gym and exercising and like just that outlet because like in today's society, a lot of us are like stuck in this box, like we don't
Hmm.
release the amount of energy that we need. And I feel like that has uh an effect on like, our brain chemistry. But
Yeah, for
as far
sure.
as like physically, obviously once I started to consume like whole foods, less of like the fast foods and like the processed stuff, like the processed sugar, I started to physically feel a lot better, like a lot more energy,
Hmm.
a lot less issues. Like I don't really get sick too much. Like I obviously get like the seasonal like allergies and like a cold, but like
Yeah.
prior to changing my diet, I feel like I was like sick all the time. Like I was getting the flu.
Hmm.
Like I would always have like a cough or something. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like changing the diet really, really made a big difference in that.
Yeah, and also it probably also, you said the energy aspect of it, fueling workouts, you're able to do more, and it's kind of like a snowball effect from there. Once you get sort of everything right. And so yeah, no, that's like it's really valuable, like hearing, the progress of somebody from going, just starting out their exercise journey, going into, pushing themselves and then changing their diet and then seeing that benefit even more. Um, and so you were saying that you're training for, or you have been training for a 50-mile race coming up. And so tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so basically, I'll take you back. I'll give you a little backstory. So
Yeah.
I think it was uh, maybe August of 21. A good buddy of mine, John Sullivan, he actually held the Guinness World Record for most Murphs in a 24-hour period for a while.
Okay.
He's a retired Navy veteran. Um, we get after it together a lot, and we were out on a run one day, and he was like, "Man, what do you think about trying to run 100 miles?" Like I'd never run more than 10, 12 miles. And I was like, let's give it a shot, So we were kind of doing some research, looking for some trails that we can maybe FKT, which stands for fastest known time. And we stumbled upon the Schuylkill River Trail here in southeastern Pennsylvania. And we kind of set a date, which was 3 months away, and figured, we'll just be able to bullhead our way through it. I kind of took the route of just running 10 miles a day. That's I thought, okay, if I run 10 miles a day for the next 3 months, like I should be in good enough shape to run 100 miles.
Yeah.
Um, well, we got a plan together. We started in Frackville, Pennsylvania. I believe it was November 11th, 2021. And we set out to run the 116-mile trail, the Schuylkill River Trail. I ended up making it 89 miles. He ended up
Really?
bailing at 75 miles. I guess that was my first experience with like an actual endurance event. Like it was, I think I was around 23 hours when I bailed. Um, I
Yeah.
wasn't ready for the pain, like the pain that comes
Yeah.
along with it. So like I thought in my mind like there was something wrong when really like that's just part of the sport of endurance. Um,
Really?
so after that, we kind of were like, okay, tucked our tails, licked our wounds. We're like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board on this. We obviously need a little bit more training, a little more planning. So we went back to the drawing board, like I said, uh, picked a date of April 16th, 20. I'm sorry, this was the first time we tried it was 2020,
Okay.
November 2020. We picked a date of April 16th, 2021, and we set out to do it again. I got like some generic training plan off of the internet. That was actually for a 50 miler, I think. And I was like, okay, if I kind of
Okay.
tweak this a little bit, I'll be able to figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And I trained as hard as I could. I followed that plan to a T, no matter how my body felt, no matter, how I was feeling physically or
Yeah.
mentally. I made sure to hit my numbers. About 2 weeks out from that, I started to have like an IT issue in my knee, like where as soon as
Hmm.
I got out running, it would like flare up.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I'll stop running for 2 weeks. I'm supposed to taper anyways. Hopefully, by the time the date comes up, I'll feel better. We got out there on April 16th. I got about 8 miles in, and my knee flared up again. But I was
Yeah.
able to kind of hobble along for another 83 miles. And yeah,
Wow.
so I ended up
I mean,
bailing.
that's an accomplishment in itself.
Oh yeah, I mean this.
To
So
get through.
Yeah,
83 miles with a knee problem.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't feel like a failure by any means. Like I know that I gave it 100% effort on this. Like I put my heart into the training, I put my heart into the planning, and I put my heart into the effort. And I literally didn't have anything left. Like the first time I went out, like I probably could have pushed the last, 20 so miles. I could have made it through. This time,
Yeah,
like I didn't have it left in me. My buddy John
yeah.
Sullivan ended up finishing 116 miles in 26 hours.
Wow,
Um,
wow.
so after that, I kind of took a break from running. Like mentally, physically, I was kind of just banged up. Like I said, like licking wounds.
Yeah,
And I guess December 2021, I decided to do like a 60 days of Murph.
okay.
For those of you who don't know what a Murph is, it's a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and another mile run with a 20-pound weight vest on.
Yeah,
It's in memory of Lieutenant Mike Murphy, who is a Navy SEAL, gave his life in battle over in Afghanistan. Um, and that kind of like re-sparked my interest in running again. And that's when I decided to sign up for a couple races in 2022. I did a 50K in Maryland, placed fourth there. I finished just under 4.5 hours. Um,
nice.
I just recently did a 10 miler, the Broad Street, the Broad Street Run. Finished that in 58:53, which was an average of 5:51 miles for 10 miles. And
Nice.
yeah, we're getting ready to set out on a 50 miler.
50 miler. So that period where you took a break from the running, what kind of made you want to do the 60-day Murph challenge? Like what
Um,
was like the idea or the spark for that?
so I know that I like the CrossFit idea of stuff, and that's kind of where I got the Murph from was the CrossFit format. Um, I just knew that it's like a tough workout, and a lot of people look at it as like something that they do once a year on Memorial Day. Like they take all year long to be like, oh man, we're gonna do the Murph, and I just kind of wanted to turn it into
Yeah,
something where it's like, dude, it's just a workout. So
yeah,
and it was just like a discipline thing. Like even when I didn't feel like doing it, when my hands were torn, my legs were sore, I didn't want to put my weight vest on. Like just the fact that I like got out of bed and got it done. Like I always felt better after that. And
yeah.
fortunately, it was able to like reignite the flame.
And so, I mean, for the consistency aspect, that must have been a challenging time to do it for 60 days straight. And so, again, like you said, getting out of bed, and just doing it when you didn't want to do it. Did you have any sort of strategy for that, or was it just kind of like one step at a time, put your shoes on, go outside, and then just kind of slowly get through the process?
Yeah, so it was just kind of getting moving. Once I got the weight vest on
Yeah,
and started taking the first few steps, like the rest of it was like kind of butter because I was obviously conditioned into just doing it. Once my body was going and I was good to go, it was smooth. I know that would be tough for a lot of people, like the idea of like the monotony of just like getting out there, putting the weight vest on. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, what about recovery? What about taking rest days, this and that? And I totally am for that. Like you definitely need to let your body recover when you're doing this extreme stuff. But I feel like the mental gain and the mental toughness you gain from like a 60-day challenge like that is like unmeasurable, like the
yeah.
benefits you get from that are just, yeah, through the roof.
It gives you, yeah, the confidence knowing that you can do it as well. I think it's a big aspect of it as well. It makes the next one a little bit easier, I think. Um, but yeah, I think you're completely right. And just, one step at a time, getting moving, tell yourself, oh, I'm only going to run for 2 minutes. And then by the time you start running, you'll end up finishing the workout. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And so with this 50 miler coming up, what was kind of like your strategy for training for this one,
um
compared to maybe the last couple of ones you've done, or that? And how big does self-awareness and knowing your strengths and weaknesses play a role in your training, or when you're making the plan for the training?
So now that I'm like a little bit more seasoned, like I have a little bit more experience in the ultra endurance stuff, I learned that it's probably a little bit better to go to like some experienced people, for some advice.
Hmm.
So I actually hired a coach. His name is Adam Kimball. He's a well-known ultra runner out of Western United States. I think he lives in Tahoe, California. He holds the FKT for the Tahoe Rim Trail, which is 174 miles. I think his time is like 37 hours, which is like
That's
unreal. It's
that's
like, yeah, it's
that's a good guy to go to.
yeah. So I basically left all my programming up to him. So right now I'm just I'm going off of an app called Run the Dirt, I believe, and yeah, he just programs my workouts weekly, uh, and that way I kind of don't have to think about it. The only thing I have to think about is like the recovery aspect, nutrition, and yeah, like staying healthy.
And so what would like a week what would a week look like in a training and like an average week?
So right now, well, I guess not right now. The middle of training might look something like this. Like a Monday would be a rest day for me. Tuesday is usually something easy between 8 and 12 miles. Wednesday is usually like our speed day where we're doing some kind of like fartlek workout, which fartlek just stands for speed play in Swedish. So it might be like 3 minutes hard, 2 minutes easy for 10 rounds with a warm up and a cool
Okay.
down in front of that and in back of that. Thursday is a cross training day. I'll hop on the bike or like get under the kettlebells. Friday is another easy run that could be 8 to 12 miles. Saturday and Sundays are usually exciting. Not this last Saturday, the Saturday before, I had like a 26-mile training run, which for most people, like, going out and running a marathon is tough enough. But
That's yeah, that's the event they're training for, man.
yeah, so
Most of the times.
yeah, I think it was like 3,500 feet of elevation, 26 miles. Went out and
Wow.
crushed that on a Saturday, and only to have the next day be a 2 hour training run. So, yeah, keeping the
That's
legs moving.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
putting in the
And
miles
so
on the
how
weekends for
important is
sure.
Monday? How
Um,
how important is Monday for you?
so I noticed that like as the training block goes on, like my ability to run more and more is growing. So like Monday is like I'm oftentimes like, man, I could get out and do some miles right now. Like I just want to like move my legs. Yeah, yeah, because I'm just like
Yeah.
an energetic person as it is. But I've learned with the experience in the gym and training, like to just take a day because like that day
Yeah.
is just as important as like the 26-mile training run.
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
100%.
that comes with the territory is learning how to recover because, like I said, I oftentimes have trouble with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, like I think that a lot of people might get discouraged early on because they might try to do too much right
Yes,
away.
yes,
And I think that, like you said, as you build up your tolerance for the training, you know, you start to feel better and your ability to handle those training loads increases as well. And so I think where a lot of people might get injured or they might experience that like negative effect of overtraining per se is when they try to ramp up too quickly.
exactly.
And so I think if people try to, be ambitious, but spread out that goal, push it a little further back, so
Absolutely.
that you don't kill yourself the first.
I go by
Try to
a
run
rule. A
26 miles
rule
the
of
first
thumb is
weekend.
like not to increase your training by more than 10% per week. Like if you're starting
Yeah.
out running, 2 miles a week, well, let's say you start out running 5 miles a week. The next week, you really only want to add a half mile to that, maybe 5.5. Next week, 6,
Hmm.
and just progressively work up. 5 years ago, like I said, I was running a mile a day, and
Hmm.
that was an accomplishment for me. Like that was
Yeah.
huge. That was like amazing. I couldn't believe this. Um,
Yeah.
and now it's turned into me running these like my PR right now for weekly mileage is 113 miles.
That's insane, man. And you're feeling good, and you're feeling good on the off days as well. And so
Absolutely.
that's a big thing, man. I think I don't know what your opinion on this is, but in terms of like you see in professional sports, it's a bit different, but like load management. And now it's starting to get into the youth culture of sports where like coaches when you're 15 years old are load managing or 18 years old you're load managing. I don't think what do you think about that kind of stuff?
So I don't think you need to worry about that until you're like actually pushing yourself. Like, I mean, I think that like for obviously the 1% of like actual professional athletes, like, yeah, they maybe need to load, like have a load management, someone telling them like maybe you shouldn't push too hard, you need to recover here, recover there. But like for us regular people, like most people aren't pushing themselves hard enough to have to, manage the load. I mean, obviously, like
Yeah,
your body has tweaks and you get injured here and there, and like you have to listen to your body in those circumstances. But unless you're injured or like you're feeling overtrained, like keep pushing. Like there's no
yeah,
reason to try to like over engineer this thing. Like if you're feeling good and you feel like you can get out and run more, like go run more. You're feeling like you can put more weight on the bar, like go ahead, get out and get after it.
yeah, I completely agree, man. It's like build up a tolerance to exercise, is the most important thing because, like you said, after a 26-mile run, you feel great on Monday, But if you tried to run 26 miles, when you were running 1 mile a day, you would have been dead for a week, not moving. So building up the tolerance and that sort of thing slower, I think would benefit a lot of people and would, prevent a lot of people from just, quitting after a couple weeks.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. When you're getting started, it's not a great idea. Like the jump that I made, for example, from maybe my max distance being 10 or 12 miles to running 100 miles or trying to run 100
Yeah.
miles probably wasn't a great idea. Um, but look what it sparked. Like it ignited that
Hmm.
flame of like wanting to go out and actually get after a 100 mile event.
Exactly, man. It's exciting stuff. And so when is that race, the 50-mile event?
June 4th. It's in Ithaca, New
June
York. It's
4th.
called the Cayuga 50. It's labeled like the most scenic 50-mile
Really?
trail in the country. Yeah, like upstate New York is beautiful. Ithaca is beautiful. There's like
Mhm.
tons of waterfalls and gorges, and like it's like essentially like a rainforest up there. Like there's a lot of trees. It's beautiful. Really looking forward to
It's
it.
gonna be a nice run then.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, we'll definitely be keeping track of you, man. That's exciting. I'm excited to see how you do up there.
I think the course record is 6 hours and 44 minutes.
6 hours and 44 minutes.
That's pretty quick. I'd like to finish between like 7 and 7.5 hours. I think that'll be a pretty competitive time.
Yeah, no, yeah. And so, uh, I guess you're going for time over placement per se in terms of,
I mean, you kind of gotta see at these events, like it's hard to go out and say like you want to, finish first. So much can happen in 50 miles,
yeah,
so like you kind of have to go out
100%.
and just like run your own race. Like you just got to stay in your own lane. And then like if you're having a really good day, you're going to go out and you're going to do well and you're going to do well better than everybody else. And that's the thing with like the ultra community and the running community. Like these events, you're not really going out and like competing against anybody other than yourself. Like, because it's very
Yeah,
rare where you're going to be like neck and neck with somebody in a 50-mile race. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're going
exactly.
out and
Yeah,
you're just trying to like, it's not like you're in a wrestling match where you're like, head to head with another human being, or like even like football
yeah,
or soccer or whatever. When you're head to head, like you kind of just got to go out and have a day on your own and yeah, see where you end up.
yeah. That's true, man. Because like you said, you're not. It's not a win-lose situation. You just compete against yourself and try to be better than I guess the last time you went out running. But no, it's exciting, man. Again, thank you for doing this. I won't take too much of your time, but thanks for coming on, man. I think you like
Absolutely.
provided a lot of insight into what it's like being an endurance athlete.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me out.
Yeah, perfect, man. It's the first one. The first one's in the books, man.